This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Today on CityCast Boise, we're back with your Friday News Roundup. Our Hey Boise newsletter editor Blake Hunter joins me to break down the newly proposed city budget with some surprising changes from last year. We're also covering what's changing with the Boise airport, anxiously waiting for the Supreme Court's decision on Idaho versus United States. Plus, we're sharing our top picks for enjoying the weekend. It's Friday, June 21st. I'm Lindsay Van Allen, and this is what Boise's talking about. Blake, thanks for joining me again with another Friday News Roundup. How are you doing?
Hey, Lindsay. I'm doing pretty well.
So Boise released their proposed budget. Did you get a chance to take a look at it?
Yeah, so this is the normal, budgetary process that every city goes through every year. But yeah, I was able to take a look at a few, just like major highlights. We'll have many public hearings and many other conversations on the podcast, I'm sure, to actually dig into what's in the budget. But this is the first version for the fiscal year 2025 that we've been able to see.
And it's a whole process. So I wanted to make sure we kind of talk about what has been proposed and kind of the process. So yeah, if you're concerned about how money is being spent in the city or things that aren't getting enough money or things that you would like the city council to consider, this is your chance to jump on that and be part of the process. And so anyway, yeah, Blake, was there anything that stood out to you with this budget as opposed to the budget from last year?
One of the things that, I look at, and I think a lot of folks look at just because it's the biggest dollar number in pretty much every American city by a long shot, is the police budget.
Yeah.
And so, the city of Boise's police budget has gone up. It's currently at $98.8 million is the proposed for the next year. And it is by far the highest. Fire is at $82.4 million. Parks and Rec, their proposed budget for the next year is $50 million for the first time. So police is almost double the third highest budget item, and those are the three largest by a ways. Like it's kind of difficult to stress how much larger police budgets are in American cities than pretty much anything else.
I think it's really interesting. Like the library budget is $18 million.
Yeah.
Police budget, $98 million. I know they're different things, but I just think the contrast is stark in what is getting funding in our cities.
Yeah. And it can be difficult to track down exactly what that's being spent on as well. But the reason that I brought this up right now is because normally I would expect that we would be talking about another significant jump. Like from fiscal year 2021 to 2023, the police budget went up $25 million,
yeah,
which is so much. But this year it only went up 3.8%. Which is about $3 million. And so I'm really curious to hear more about that from the city. I'm sure that will be a comment, a topic of discussion at some public hearings, and maybe we can reach out about that more if we want. But I'm just very curious about that number, how the city settled on that right now. Obviously, the police department has been involved in controversy after controversy over the last few years. But one thing in contrast is that the Office of Police Accountability budget certainly went up, which makes sense.
Yeah.
They restaffed. For most of last year, they didn't have a full-time person actually leading the office. And so, or they had an interim director, but this is the first time that they're really up to speed. And so it makes sense that their office would increase for sure. But that's one of the first things that I always look at when I look at city budgets is looking at the police budgets.
Boise is also looking for a new police chief. So I wonder if, part of this budget and part of the budget concern has been that ongoing hunt for a new police chief. Do you think that's relevant?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely is. I think that, they're currently in the hunt for a new police chief. It's one of the highest paid, most public facing officials in the city. And they're going to be coming in and looking at this budget, trying to see what they can work with. And to you or I, $100 million definitely seems like a lot. And is a lot just relative to everything else that the city's spending money on. But we also know that cities, including Boise, have had a really hard time, not just Boise's had a really difficult time with leadership and retaining leaders, but police departments around the country have had a really difficult time training and retaining police officers. And so that is certainly a concern for the city as well. So we'll see what happens with the new police chief.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. The police accountability budget went up 35.5%. So that is the part of the budget getting a huge increase, maybe the most that I'm seeing. I thought it was really interesting that there are two new categories, or the money for these things is in its own distinct category now. I don't know if it was in previous categories before and now it's just been earmarked for its own thing. But the city clerk, all of a sudden, 2025 proposed budget has a budget of $1.4 million. And that is not its own category from 2022, 2023, 2024. So that is a new item. And then organizational effectiveness, they have a budget of $1.5 million. And that has not been a previous budget item in the last few years. So I thought, that was $3 million of different categories this year than we've seen on the budget previously.
Yeah, that is interesting. And then another one that, when the largest actual percentage increase out of any group other than the Police Accountability Office is mayoral community engagement, which doesn't fall under the mayor's office, which I find interesting. I'm sure there's reasons for that somewhere, but that went up 25%. It's less than $1 million. The increase was less than $1 million. So, we're kind of fine sifting through some details when maybe not everything is as settled as it could be, and there's certainly other bigger jumps to be aware of throughout this entire 250-page budget book from the city. But those are I don't know. It's I love to nerd out about budgets and just like pouring through all of these numbers and whatnot. So those are a few things that jumped out to us. Yeah. Oh,
I agree. I think it's always very interesting to see how it changes year from year, because the focus has really changed from last year to this year.
The city is also really pointing to a lot of different earmarked funds in the budget, like $4 million in grants to public electric vehicle chargers that people can use. There's a new fire station under construction, so of course that's going to be expensive, and affordable housing investments. Like the city's trying to point towards those things, and of course it's 250 pages. There's so much to get into, but luckily we have a few different opportunities to actually chime in about this. So on June 25th, Tuesday, June 25th, the city has their official budget workshop, the city council. And so that's on 8:30 in the morning on June 25th. And then after that, there will actually be a full public hearing about it on Tuesday, July 16th at 6 p.m. at City Hall. So, you can provide testimony either on Zoom or at City Hall, or you can also provide feedback through a survey online. Speaking
of investments that the city is making and new budgetary items, the Boise Airport is getting a whole new redesign.
Yeah, a whole concourse, which we have a B and a C concourse, and now they're working on a concourse A. It's going to be $42.4 million, and they've just basically signed a contract with an architecture firm to work on this, which $42.4 million is obviously a lot of money, but that's not actually coming out of we just talked about the city of Boise's proposed budget. That is not part of this. This is completely separate. This is the airport, running as its own thing. Obviously, everybody, spends money at airports, and so that's where this money is coming from. That's going into this contract, and I think it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. The Boise Airport has seen like 72% increase in the last decade in traffic. the last several years. Each year we've set traffic records, so it makes sense that we need more room.
I was going to say, anybody who's flown recently in or out of Boise, it can be such a nightmare. There's just not enough flights. There's not enough, every single flight is completely full. So yeah, it's $42.4 million. But if you look at the proposed design, it's essentially doubling.
I know. Yeah.
The amount of like gates and concourses and things. So like, I think it's probably long past due that we have this, this remodel. So I'm excited to see what this does, maybe what flights it opens up if we are able to get more destinations, just have a more functional airport experience, because lately I feel like it's just absolutely been a nightmare.
It's tough. Yeah, we have a lot of people trying to get places, but it is going to be a long haul. The bad news, of course, is that a project like this takes a long time. And so this is a 5-year contract. So, this won't really... The goal is to be open in 2029, I believe. So
yeah, not changing anything for you this summer or next summer, but eventually.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Okay, Lindsay, I wanted to flip it around and talk to you about something, or ask you about something, because we're recording this on Thursday, and we were waiting to kind of create a plan for this conversation, to hear if we would hear anything back from the Supreme Court about Moyle v. United States and Idaho v. United States. And we didn't on Thursday, but, this is coming out Friday morning, early Friday morning. Can you talk a little bit about what this case is, and as a former ER nurse, who's concerned about this kind of thing, what you're feeling right now?
Yeah, definitely just low level tension, I think, for all of my healthcare worker friends. Obviously, anybody who's pregnant or wants to be pregnant in this state. So I was sort of hoping a decision would come out, because just the anticipation is feeling kind of stressful at this point. So what these cases are is that Idaho has, as I think most of our listeners know, some of the strictest abortion bans in the entire country. And with those abortion bans, there are no health exceptions. So if you're having a pregnancy emergency and your health is at risk, and the treatment for that would be an abortion, a doctor in Idaho cannot provide that. You either have to travel or you have to wait until like death is imminent. And then legally a doctor could potentially provide an abortion if they felt like they had enough of a case, and if the hospital felt like there was enough justification for it. So the Biden's Department of Justice sued Idaho, saying that we violated EMTALA, the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act. And what that basically is in a nutshell is if you need emergency care and you go to the ER, they have to assess you and provide you stabilizing treatment to protect your health and your life. Well, Idaho's law does not have a health exception. So the federal government says that Idaho's abortion ban is in conflict with the federal law EMTALA. So the Supreme Court is deciding, this decides a lot of things. It doesn't just decide about abortion. This is also an issue of preeminence. Does federal law supersede state law if they are in conflict? And that has major repercussions for all kinds of laws around the country. But then I know, since the Dobbs decision, since Roe v. Wade fell, 1 in 4 OBGYNs in Idaho have left the state. And I know that there are a lot of doctors waiting on this decision to see what their next steps are. Because if the Supreme Court decides that Idaho law stands and that pregnant people don't have equal access to EMTALA like non-pregnant people in our state, I think we're going to lose quite a few more doctors, because I think now we're going to start seeing an exodus of emergency room doctors, because this puts them in a terrible position, a very dangerous position, where, we've seen that life flights have increased, emergency life flight transportations to other states have increased 6 times as high as they were a year ago. And so you don't get into emergency medicine to edge death and gamble with people's lives. So I think a lot of emergency providers and doctors are potentially really weighing this decision in how they will practice, or if they will continue to practice here.
Yeah. And I mean, it has, like you said, huge repercussions for a lot of different things. One, this definitely has the power to not just affect Idaho. So so many states are looking at this. The other thing is that it could throw a huge wrench in just emergency rooms in general for all sorts of treatment, because EMTALA, applies to any hospitals that get any public funds through Medicare. Or accept Medicare, or so they're kind of, they're the bridge between public and private medical care. And so that's what the Biden administration is saying. The hospitals will have to make decisions. The Biden administration will have to make decisions about how this is actually going to filter down when it comes to Medicare funding, whether they want to pull that completely, or I don't know. As someone who has lived in rural Idaho and is just an Idahoan in general, it's kind of difficult, because I understand that the federal law has its role to play, but at the same time, I'm like, I would hope that they, would try to find some sort of workaround and not pull funding. But it's such a disaster, and like you said, we're waiting on this on Friday morning, and yeah, we've had so many doctors leave the state, and doctors most of the time have the money to leave the state, but so many other people who need treatment don't. So we will be waiting to see what happens here.
Exactly. And just like you said, we've lost OBGYNs, and that is mostly affecting women, people with uteruses, and people who are pregnant. If we lose emergency room doctors, everybody has emergencies. That's just part of life. And so that will absolutely impact your wait time, your access to a doctor, your access to a doctor with experience.
And we've already seen those wait times increase, not just in Idaho. Like that, we're not just saying that. That's been going on, as so many listeners know, I know. But it is it's a stressful thing. We're all waiting with bated breath a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, so maybe this will tap into kind of how everybody's feeling. But no, it's watching this as someone who's worked in healthcare, this is incredibly stressful, and the repercussions of this decision could be so devastating for healthcare in this state, not even, plus healthcare in so many other areas. Let's jump into picks of the week. I know I lean hard sometimes into, I'm a suburban mom, but I'm really excited. A summer movie finally came out that I'm really, really excited to see with my kids. And I feel like that happens less and less. I feel like it was happening a lot more like 10 years ago. A lot more family movies that were really just exciting to take the kids to. And now I just don't feel like that happens a lot. But I finally feel like there's one, Inside Out 2. I've heard phenomenal things. It's actually a surprise. We're surprising them, so they don't even know. But I'm fine. I don't know, something about the summer movies and taking the kids and just I don't know. It feels nostalgic for me from when I was a kid. And then it's just something I look forward to every year. So I'm so excited that finally a movie came out, and this week we're taking the kids, and that just feels like a quintessential summer thing. So that's really what I'm so excited about this weekend. What about you? What's your pick of the week?
That's so exciting. I love that. I'm always down for a movie take. Well, I kind of have two. One that I just want to sneak in really quickly that I'm just excited about in general, and I know a lot of people will be too, is that Sunshine Spice Cafe, which has been, a local favorite up on Fairview Avenue from this Afghan family who opened this bakery and cafe, and just has done amazing work, and they just opened up a new location downtown. So I just wanted to shout them out because I think people should go check it out.
I've loved their bakery, so I love that they've got the opportunity to expand now. That's really exciting.
I know, it's so cool. And then one of my other ones, or my other pick of the week is a little bit of self-promotion because I'm emceeing an event, a reading at the Lit Room this weekend that I'm really excited about. And I'm also going to be like having a little bake sale, selling some stuff that I've baked. It's going to be hot, but it's a really cool lineup of local readers and supporting, emerging artists. It's through the Backyard Artists, local nonprofit who we've had them on the show before too, and I'm part of. And so I'm just really excited about that, and just wanted to self promote a little bit.
Yeah, no, what time? Like, give me more information. I think this sounds great.
It's at the Lit Room in Garden City, so the new bookstore that's open there across from Push and Pour, and it's from 6 to 9 p.m.
Perfect. Yeah, sounds great to check out. That sounds like a really fun event.
Yeah, I'm excited. It'll be fun.
That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. The show is produced by Evelyn Avitia, Frankie Barnhill, and me, Lindsay Van Allen. Blake Hunter writes our Hey Boise newsletter, and our music is by Up Is the Down Is the. If you enjoyed our show today, leave us a review. It helps other people find us. We'll be back on Monday with another great local story. Catch you then.